So often, especially spiritual entrepreneurs, they think that they're their business and they're not. Entrepreneurs are like, well, my business has my name. I'm like, yeah, but your business has its own agenda. When you know that your soul language is in the soul language of the business, you're able to have a deeper conversation and really receive guidance that actually supports the growth and the evolution of the business versus what you think you should be doing.
Jennifer, I'm so excited to talk to you today about soul language. Let's start off. What is soul language?
I was asking some really big questions like, why am I here? And why do I like this person and not that person? And, so I was on a massage table covered in red mud. And I was like, okay, God, like, what is that? And what I heard was soul language. And I was like, okay, I'm going to keep asking questions. And before long, I had this paradigm that puts tangibility to soul, not to put anyone in a box. But so we have human words to what we know deep down inside. Humans love words for things. And we need words, right? It's how we create. I mean, the universe creates images, but we start in words, so to speak. And when people have this kind of framework to know what's deep down inside, it allows them to create a conscious connection with that energy. And that allows them to move from unconscious or struggle to consciousness. And that creates more ease and grace. So there's 3 core energies of soul, your mission, and that's not about purpose. That's about what you are profoundly here to experience and then offer that experience to others. The second category is about how you'll be known here, or the fuel of your mission. And then the third category is about soulful personality, how your soul prefers to go through life.
It's not just about how, or this is my take on what we've spoken about before. It's not just about who you're here to be known as. It's also how you interact with the world. Have I got that right? Like how you go through your day.
Yeah, it's how you use your soulful energy, your God goo, right? We can use it consciously, which I do, and then we can use it unconsciously, what I do, and I've crashed cars, right? I've made things blow up, or consciously, I've created something out of nothing, right? Tangibility. And I think so often, especially in the spiritual arena, we are so used to eradicating our belief systems in order to kind of get what we want that we're actually not utilizing the full power of our soul or our humanness because we are creating conflict within. And listen, I'm great at conflict within. I can do it like you cannot imagine. And yet I know when I do it, that doesn't really get me what I want. And so I created a process because I don't want to suffer and I didn't like to suffer. And so that's why I created this kind of downloadable thing that's actually a really great tool. And it's a tool. And, what I love about soul language versus Enneagram or human design, I try not to roll my eyes with human design, but it's not created for a crutch. And it's a starting off point. And it's a tool that evolves. So often people will go, oh, my archetype in soul language, and I twitch. I'm like, no, archetypes stick. They're solid. They don't move. Soul languages evolve. We've updated languages. We've changed titles because as we grow in consciousness, our awareness of that grows. And I don't think the other paradigms, in my humble opinion, are doing that. And I think that's a disservice to humanity.
Now, I know you and I did have a conversation about human design when we very first connected, because it was funny because obviously I do love human design and I use it with my clients. But I think what you said is exactly spot on. We do agree. It's not about labels. It's not about, oh, I'm a generator and I can only do this. It's not about that at all. And we're not using it Enneagram the same. You and I, I've got a good friend that uses Enneagram and the same thing. It's like, well, here's your guidelines, and then you explore that. And you also are not the same person next year as you were today. So things flow and change. And
but
I think that
very few people utilizing, I didn't mean to interrupt, utilizing those paradigms like you are, right? And
And
so,
that's what I was going to say. I think it's the facilitator that's giving
yeah,
the labels,
yeah,
not. So I think that that's really important to start there, to say that none of these is the actual modality. I feel like it's the facilitator that's putting the labels on it.
yeah. And the people that they're attracting, right? Like I attract people who want to go deep in their own knowledge, right? I don't attract people who want to just like, listen, I've said this before, I will say it again. Please just tell me the answer so I can the next step. Like just tell there's a Seinfeld line where he's being the movie phone guy by mistake, which did no longer exist, but you could call in and they would tell you the movies. And so people were calling his number and he was reading the paper and he would be finally like, just tell me the movie you want to see. Like it's like, just tell me the movie. But that always doesn't really work out the way I wanted to anyway, right? So yeah, it's about community and the facility. So I think, it's really like all energy, it's how you use it, right? Like all magic, it's how you use it. And, I'm really strict on myself with deep love about I want to evolve my consciousness. I want to continue to operate from wholeness and completeness. So I use soul language for myself, and my intention is for others to use it that way. And so, well, yeah, so I just want to keep being on my soapbox to let people know that they don't have to give up their power once they understand a part of their blueprint. And I think so often they tend to do that.
Mm. Now, you mentioned that this came to you because of the way that, the things that you wanted. Why is this work so important to you to share with others?
The short answer is because God told me so. The long answer is, I've seen the light bulb that goes off of people's heads. Like when you identify their soul languages, they're like, are you in my head? Oh my God. Like you just told me something that I know deep down inside, but I didn't have the words for it. And now I have the words for. And because once you kind of understand your own personal soul languages and you really understand the 107 core energies of soul, you kind of go, oh my God, we're just all in this energetic game and we get to kind of see how we want to use that energy. You start to really realize how we are all one. I'm actually laughing at myself at the moment because I had a bit of a blip personally today. And now I'm laughing because I'm like, oh my God, we're all one. What am I doing? And you get to let go of a lot of attachment. And the person with the least amount of attachment in the room is the most powerful person because they're using power consciously.
So soul language is not just words, it's also a way of being.
Yeah.
Talk to us about how knowing our soul language can change the way we're showing up in our business and the way we're going through our day-to-day building our business, running our business.
Yeah. So we identify both the personal soul and we can identify the business soul. You call in a business to do something bigger first for yourself and then others. So 9 out of 10 times that's different energy than your personal soul. So we'll use me as an example. So one of my soul languages, my soulful personality is called graceful warrior. It's a warrior energy, consciously action, courage, and grace. Unconsciously, again, I can crash cars and blow things up, right? Unconscious warrior energy is.
Sorry, it cracks me up when you say that.
I know, it's true. Unconscious warrior energy is like a dog with a bone. It's very like never leave a man down, loyal to a fault, problems with authority. And most of the time we turn that all inward. So when I moved from unconscious to more grace, I literally moved one house over on the same street. I got a publisher for my book. I got a relationship that I've been into for over 10 years. And I got bigger and better clients. And I am now putting that consciousness into my business. So it is acting consciously versus pain and suffering. So when I was making more with things, I was taking on clients who are what I call a Lucy from Peanuts. So Lucy, the Peanuts character, pulls the football. She's always going to pull the football, right? But I would take on a Lucy because I thought, oh, no, I like the conflict. I like that. Like, no, I didn't. Or I would take on Woodstock, who's crazy energy. Because again, I was putting conflict in the business. When you are conscious in your own soul, you put that energy into your business and it reflects that back, wholeness and completeness. You also have to describe yourself in your business. My business energy is much more still in nature. It's much more loving, right? So I give a one-liner to every soul when I do their identification. So my personal soul is I create balance for myself and others through love, integrity, and courage. The business energy provides counsel with heart and mind. Now, I don't really love people, but the business does, right? And so when I'm more still and less action-oriented, the business grows. And the perfect example of that is I was yelling at my business. And I was like, where are my clients? Where are my business several years ago? Blah, blah, blah. And the business went, go to the beach. I was like, oh, no, I got things to do. The business is like the beach. And I was like, fine. And I went to the beach and I came home and there was 3 new clients in my inbox because I was still, right? It's more still in nature. It's more loving. It's more receiving in nature. So you really understand how you're playing with energy and how to use it.
But obviously, like that's your energy. Can you, just to give us a little bit of context, what is some sort of energy that would actually work against being still and going to the beach?
If a person is more still in nature and their business is still in nature, they're going to need to put more action. So you really kind of understand how to use your energy in its best possible way for consciousness. So often, especially spiritual entrepreneurs, they think that they're their business and they're not, right? Entrepreneurs are like, well, my business has my name. I'm like, yeah, but your business has its own agenda. And yes, you hear parts of that, but you overlay it with things that you think you should be doing. And they don't actually have a deep conversation with their business. And their business has so much to tell them. And so when you know that your soul language is in the soul language of the business, you're able to have a deeper conversation and really receive guidance that actually supports the growth and the evolution of the business versus what you think you should be doing.
So you've got the graceful warrior energy. Did I get that right?
Yes, you did.
What is the soul language of your business?
Sure. So my personal soul languages are equalizer, which is all about my mission. It's about balance. Teacher of integrity. So I can hear, see, and understand where people are out of the consciousness of love for themselves. I offer them the chance to get back in, which means back into balance, which means back into unstoppable free train of goodness. And then my soulful personality is that graceful warrior, action, movement, courage, and grace. The business mission is called counselor. It's here to provide one area of expertise. That's it. It's how we'll be known here is heart consciousness. It's all about compassion and love. So I just did an event a couple of weeks ago and the testimonials come back and they're all like, Jennifer holds such a compassionate space. And I'm like, it's the business energy. That's not me. Right. And then the tone or the soulful personality of the business is collaborator. So it really, truly, it wants to collaborate with almost everything it comes in contact with, right? Now, for me, in my past, personally, collaborations within business were extremely painful. So I kept putting in, oh, no, I don't want to collaborate. Oh, I don't know where to collaborate. And I couldn't figure out why the business was shrinking. When I healed that, I would laugh because people would call me up and go, I really want to collaborate with you. And I'm like, I feel that, right? I'm putting something different in and it's transforming. There's 107 core energies of soul. So some mission languages are a pioneer, matriarch, patriarch, mentor. Some how you'll be known here languages are lawmaker, which is all about creating peace for themselves and for others. Motivator, top line, here to motivate themselves and others. And some soulful personality energies are mortar maker, which is all about seeing how we're all individualizations of the one, or Olympian, which is such a beautiful energy. It really wants to bring out the best in humanity and the best of humanity's divinity. And Olympians are really cool because they have people of all walks of life within their kind of community. When we identify a business that way, the person always goes, oh my God, now I understand why I don't have an ideal client. These are so different.
So sustainable success is what I'm picking up. And I want to touch on this because I think that so many people have an idea. They think I've got these gifts, I've got these talents. This is how I should create my business. But then, you look externally, and you're meant to as well, look externally and go, all right, well, how are people doing this? And as choosing a business model or designing an offer that's based off someone else's. So it's not unique to them. And then what happens, and I'm sure you see this too, is they go for a bit and go, oh my God, this doesn't feel right. And they just burn it to the ground. They either self-sabotage and unconsciously burn it to the ground, or they go, I hate this, I'm burning it to the ground. What are some of the areas of soul language that people get an insight to that helps them to create that sustainability in their business?
Because you know your soul languages and the soul languages of business, you're actually co-creating with the how. So you're doing the internal and external actions to create sustainability. So often people are like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do a blog, and they haven't done the internal action. So there might be parts of them are in resistance to that. When you talk to the energy of your business, it's never going to tell you anything you don't resonate with. It will tell you you're in resistance about, and then that's a personal job to kind of release that or shift that. But it's never going to say to me, hey, Jen, I think that you should start a product line that are geared towards cigarette smokers. Well, no, that doesn't resonate with me, right? It will say, gee, Jen, I think you should do an event, which I got last year in 2024. And I was like, yeah, no, the last in-person event, the big event was like horrible for me. I'm not doing it. And then I'm like, oh, okay, let's shift that. So it really allows you to create a business that really resonates with you, mind, body, and spirit, versus you thinking or you taking advice or doing your life or your business by jury, which is, let me ask this, and let me ask this, let me ask this. And by the time you're done, you're like so confused, you don't know what decision you want to make. So it kind of takes that out of the equation so you can really seriously understand what is going to create what you want to receive.
You know what I really loved about what you just said then is that the idea of the event came up and straight away you were like, no, that's not right. And I feel like that's where a lot of us go. But resilience is about sometimes working through those things that we don't want to do. And before we started recording, you and I were talking a little bit about spiritual bypassing. We both had a very frustrating thing happen to us yesterday, very separate, but both instances, spiritual bypassing. And that is not what you did there. Actually, let's go. How would you describe spiritual bypassing? Let's give us some context to this conversation.
So there's a couple ways that it shows up. It shows up as, you hand over your power to the divine, which is like this. I'm going to try to deal without an eye roll. Well, the divine timing's off. Well, you are one with the divine. The divine is here to support you. It wants to shower you with whatever you want. There's no such thing as divine time. There's such things as, yes, it might take the divine a little time to create what you want, but because it doesn't happen doesn't mean divine timing's off. It means that your communication with the divine was off. So I'll give you a perfect example because it's a great one. I'm at an event in Utah and we're getting breakfast and I'm with a friend of mine and I keep asking for soft boiled eggs. No, sorry, the other way around. I can't even do it now. I keep asking poached eggs and they come and they're soft boiled eggs. And I'm like, no, I wanted poached eggs. She's like, oh, okay. And they come back out and they're soft boiled eggs. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'll eat them. And the waitress walks away and my friend turns to me and goes, I know you think you asked for poached eggs, but you've been asking for soft boiled eggs. And that's what happens in our manifestation process. And that's what people think divine timing is. I think spiritual bypass also happens with, oh, I'm just going to love it away. And let's talk about the good things. And I'll eradicate all the shadow. And you can't have a really good song with just high notes or just low notes. You need all of the notes. And so they tend to kind of just gloss it over and not really deal with the thing internally that is preventing them evolving or having what they want. And a lot of people just do this whole thing of consciousness, which is not spirituality, it's different, with their mind and not really full body. So they don't embody it, right? So they get so far and then, oh, what? I'm in the same trap. And listen, your biggest challenge is going to come up when you're asking for more. So my biggest challenge is all not enough. But it's going to come up different. It's going to be the same chocolatey goose center, but the outside's going to be a different color. But so often people go, oh, we're here again, and I'm not going to deal with that. Instead of going and looking, going, oh my God, this is an opportunity for me to receive more. So that's what I control bypassed.
I love that so much. I want you to talk about aligning your voice and your vision, because this is something that I saw in some of the work when I was doing some research, and this really sung to me because I think that so many coaches, entrepreneurs, they create a business that has got a really strong vision from the heart, and they find it really difficult to put voice to that. I'd love you to give us some examples that you've seen of people that have managed to align this voice and vision, but also maybe give us some context on what you see when it's not quite aligned.
Yeah. I believe our voice is our brand, and that voice happens in different ways, right? It's not just our physical voice, it's any expression of that. And so often when it's misaligned, you'll hear people talking and you'll be like, I like Jennifer, but there's something off I don't get. And you can't put words to it. It's like they're not fully believing with what they're saying, and it just feels out of sync. Another way to tell is like when someone's talking, you really can't stand their voice. Like for you, it's like, oh my God, nails on chalkboard, like make it stop. They're out of sync. That's another way.
I'm only laughing because my husband and I were on a training this morning and we were going, he says to me, is it just me or does that voice really make you cringe? And I went, I just can't listen to it. It's exactly like nails on a chalkboard. So that's why I was laughing, because literally half an hour ago we were having this conversation.
Right? And so you kind of want to run out of the room screaming, right? That's what happens when someone's voice and their vision are aligned. And it's also about understanding where your voice, when you speak, actually lands in your body. Most people are speaking from their head, right? And are not speaking from the root on up. You have to have a belief that goes way down to the root or it's not going to manifest. And so often I'm working with a client, I'm like, okay, I tell them to close their eyes and I go, so tell me what you do again. And you can see their energy just like, oh, like deer in headlights, right? It's because they're not solid in their what they do and what they offer and who they are, right? And so when you're aligned, it just flows. It actually sings you versus you trying to sing it. And that has people going, I'm not so sure what Jennifer does, but I don't care because I know I want it, right? It really resonates with your audience. It feels to them. They embody it. They get images. They understand on a soul level what you're offering. And then they can self-select about whether they're a community member or not. And so it's so often when we do kind of that energetic voice work, you'll watch people get taller. You'll watch them, their voice get bigger, louder. I just came back from an event and this woman stood up and she was like, a little notch and you putting here. And I was like, these are 10 people who've spent the last day and a half loving, like instantly loving. She's like, I know, I just can't. And we did some energetic clearing work. And then she was like, it was like, whoa, you know, so amazing. And I watched this amazing singer because I made them sing their vision and sing their song about their song that represented their business. And she got up and I was like, you can read it or sing it. And she got up and she started reading it. I was like, you sing. Hello, good morning. And I'm like, and now I'm using it. Like, what is going on? She's like, I know. I and we did some energy work and she just belted that out. And we were all like, yeah. Our intuition, our knowing knows when someone is really in their zone and really in their purpose, mind, body, and spirit, versus they're kind of phoning it in.
I love it. For people that have been listening and they're like, all right, okay, I'm super interested in this. I want to know more about soul language and I want to learn more about how that relates to me. Where can they go to find some more information?
Yeah, I think the best place is soullanguage.us. And underneath the soul language section, there's a discovery session. That's the best place. Actually, I want people to have an experience of it to really understand how they can utilize it personally. It's a very personal tool. People are often like, can you do one during an interview? I'm like, no. And I'm like, I can, but what if we say something really personal? Like, it's intimate. And the most intimate relationship you're going to have is you're one with your soul and whatever you call your higher power. So I think that's the best place for people to experience it. And then I'm on Facebook. I have a group called Spiritual Renegade. It's a private group, but you can have access to it. Just log on. And I think it's a great community. They're powerful people. And that's where I hang out and share my most things. And then I'm on YouTube and I have this new thing called snack size transformation. Cause I think, people try to do all of this transformation all at once. And if you just do a 5-minute tool, that can really change your life. So, and that's on YouTube.
All the links for all of those will be down in the notes below wherever you're listening. But for Jennifer, finally, I want to ask for anyone that's been listening to this, what is the one thing that you want them to walk away with?
I want them to walk away with the memory that they're whole and complete and really approach everything like that. If I knew I was whole and complete, I'm laughing at myself. What would I say? What would I do? How would I express here? And pause and do that. Consciousness work is not for the faint of heart. It takes being present. It takes courage. And it takes you not moving faster than the speed of light. And as humans, especially lately, we love just to race through things, right? We love to fast forward through the commercials. We love to skip to the part where we want to say we love books on audio because we can speed them up. And we're missing a lot by not being present and being connected.
I love that so much. Jennifer, thanks so much for coming and sharing your wisdom today, for sharing soul language. And I just love everything that we talked about today. So thank you.
Thank you.